The horror within the walls. The full moon shined onto the town like a blanket. It was quiet, as many were asleep around this time. The only sound that could be heard was the sound of police sirens filling the air. A person running within the shadows could be seen. His breath was heavy, as he was followed by another person behind him. Both carried a bag on their backs, and they tried to make some distance away from the police sirens who seemingly felt closer. They eventually got to the spot they weren't visible. They stayed quiet as they tried to catch their breath. A few police bicycles even passed by before they were able to get up again. In front of them was a large house. It was old and run down. It was the odd one out of the others who looked new. "Oscar, let's hide in there for now, till we can come up with a way to get out of here," one of them said. Oscar was tarnished, short black hair, slightly taller than the other man. He nodded, and the two both broke inside the building from the back. Climbing in, they realized how old it was. From the large cobwebs to rotten wood, nothing was stable there. Turning on the flashlights from their phones, they began settling in a bit, analyzing the area even more. Oscar got more uncomfortable. "We really have to stay here, David?" Oscar asked him. "Unless you want to risk a run with the cops, I'm all ears," David pointed out. Oscar just nodded and sat on a chair that didn't look too unstable. Opening his back on the table, Oscar started counting the money he managed to snag. "So, we only have to be here till tomorrow. Great. Sleeping isn't going to be fun," Oscar said out loud. "It's never easy. You know this, and so does Michael," David pointed out. "Don't say his name. The past few times he's done nothing but got us in horrible situations. Such as this. What's next? Killing us?" David understood his frustration, as he was right. Michael may have been their friend since childhood, but ever since he became boss, he's done nothing more but get him in near-death situations. After they spoke, David started walking around the house, exploring what was left of the ruins that were left here to rot. Each step he took, the sounds of creaking passed by. He saw old photos, all black and white. There were only few that were colored. Picking up one of the photos, there was a date on it. It was scratched off, or at the least, barely readable. Before walking back to where Oscar was, the sounds of a car pulling up from the front was heard. David quickly looked through one of the windows. 3 police bicycles were parked in front of the house, which instantly got David's heart racing. "Oscar, we gotta hide, now! They're here!" David said in a panic as he ran into the kitchen. "Oh shit!" Oscar yelped. They turned off their light and grabbed their bags. They went further behind the back of the house. They were about to attempt to go out the back, but the light from the flashlight was seen. Behind them, they saw a door opening and led to a basement. Without hesitation, they quickly stumbled down the stairs, hoping to make as little noise as possible. For David, everything went completely black. He could feel anything but floor beneath as he walked. He didn't want to turn on his light, just in case they opened the door to where they were. Eventually, he stared at an entrance that was long down the hall, into nothing but a dim light. It was something that felt welcoming to him, compared to the pitch black he was just in, that he lost Oscar within. Walking towards the dim light, he heard a sound. He stood still, listening closely as he watched the entrance. There it was, A shadow, slowly getting bigger. Oscar? He said under his breath. A hand slowly reached out, revealing a shaggy skin. The slimy sound that it made as it touched the ground. David's eyes widened as he watched it slowly crawl further and further, only for it to stop. The hand lifted itself up and turned towards David, revealing a large eye upon it. Its pupils were shiny silver, almost as if it was blind. David quickly covered his mouth so he would blurt out a scream or yell. He slowly backed away, only to be grabbed from behind. He panicked a bit before being thrown into the shadows and light blinding his vision. As his vision was able to adjust, he could see Oscar. Dude, did you see that thing? What the hell was that? David asked quietly. What are you talking about? I just saw you looking at a wall, Oscar explained. This more than confused David. He knew he wasn't crazy, but was he just seeing things? He couldn't believe it. But why would he be hallucinating? I know what I saw. I'm not crazy. Oscar shook his head. I don't think you're crazy, but I'm not lying to you either. David just nodded, not trying to argue while police were still around. So, you alright, David? We're good now. We're back in a real world? Oscar asked, a little concerned. David nodded once again, and Oscar knew he was alright. Now Oscar was then cut off as he turned around. But Oscar and David were stunned and frozen. The light from his phone shined up on a creature, both tall and humanoid. Its skin slimy and pulsated within its heartbeat. It was skinny, grey, and its breath was heavy and terrifying to the ears. Before Oscar could react, the creature crouched down, revealing its disgusting face. A large smile across its face showed its rotten, flat teeth. His eyes are nothing but sockets on its skull. Oscar took one step back, breaking something underneath his feet. The creature's mouth opened a bit while still grinning. Just as Oscar was about to yell, the creature quickly chomped on his face. The sound of his skull being crunched and flesh being torn made Jave want to puke as he was in horror. Slowly, he tried to crawl away, using the light to guide him, as he made sure nothing was in front of him. Eventually, he found himself in a small room. He sat against the wall, as fear had turned into sorrow and grief. Why did I come here? He cried out to himself. This isn't fair. I didn't want to rob that store. God damn it. Tears continued to fall from his eyes as he continued to torture himself within his own thoughts. He felt his heart ache and pain within each beat, almost like it wanted to break out of his chest. I didn't want to hurt anyone. His cry stopped as he turned his head. Standing at the doorway, a nightmare was watching. The creature from before was staring at him. It stared at him as if it could see him. Staying quiet, the creature eventually left. It walked quietly like before, almost silent. He didn't know what to do with something like that roaming around. Sound sensitive, fast, quiet, and completely dangerous. Why was it here? Was all that was going through David's mind. He didn't know. It was a chance to even escape such a thing. The gun on his side. He's only ever shot once, when not in gun range. He sighed in defeat. His chance of escape was slim to none. Beside him, he saw a few small wooden objects. Knowing, or at least believing it to be, the creature was only attracted to noise. He stood up, within a few wooden objects in his hands. He shined his light out, and saw the stairway was ahead of him. Sweat dripped from his palms, as his heart raced. He threw two of the objects to the left and began bolting forward. The creature was badly distracted, as it turned fairly quickly. His foot slammed into the steps, his hand was outreached for the knob. Tears flowed from his eyes, as he felt a little hope coming from it. In the corner of his eye, the hope was there vanished in an instant. The creature grabbed his left arm, and without any hesitation, ripped it clean off. David screamed in agony as he tumbled down the stairs. He fell onto the floor hard, unable to move but scream in pain. He was surrounded by his own pool of blood. "Someone help me! I don't want to die down here!" He yelled at the top of his lungs. The creature walked up from behind him and grabbed his head. He felt the creature squeezing his head. Eyes felt as if they were going to pop from his skull. Yelling even more, the creature got angrier. Though after all the screaming, the sounds of rushing footsteps came towards the basement door. Soon the door was bashed open by people in uniforms, looking down upon them. The creature yelled out, but only to be shot by multiple stun darts. It fell to the ground, David barely able to speak, as the people walked down. All wore helmets, almost military-like, as they looked around the basement. "Sir, we have a dead body here," one of them said, as they stood by David's body. "Creature should be down for at least a couple more, sire," another said. Two people walked up to David, who at this point could barely speak. One crouched down, feeling David's pulse. "He lost too much blood. I would say another 2, potentially 3 minutes before death," the man said. The other man crouched down, a cigar in his mouth. "If you can hear me, I'm sorry that we couldn't make it in time. Just so you know, your sacrifice wasn't in vain, but maybe the young lady that you mercilessly killed did," the man said. David's eyes widened at what he said. "I never wanted to kill her, damn it!" he yelled out with all of his energy. David kept on, saying the same thing over and over, 3 more times, annoying the man. The man pointed a handgun at David's face. "Scum like you should die much more slowly. But since we're in public here, goodbye," the man said. "No!" David yelled, only to be shot in the head without hesitation. The man smoked a last bit of cigar. "Burn it down," he commanded. The rest of the men got the creature out of the house and left it to burn. It went up in flames very quickly. The fire department quickly getting there, but there wasn't a trace of whoever was left. Thank you all so much for listening to tonight's story. Now I'd like to take a moment to thank all of my Patreons who helped make this channel possible. Thank you, Cool Scout 09 and Lady Nevermore, for all your help and support. You guys are amazing.